The 90s, most loved and most hated TV characters. The 90s, the decade of loud outfits, endless sitcom marathons, and legendary catchphrases. It was the time when you'd rush to turn on the TV after school before someone else in the family grabbed the remote. We're talking about an era where denim jackets were mandatory, Tamagotchis were a life mission, and sitcoms were a window into another world. But let's be honest, as much as we loved our TV heroes, there were also those who drove us insane. Today, we're traveling back to the time of Walkmans, tube TVs, and neon colors, to the most loved and most hated TV characters of the 90s. Most hated, Al Bundy, married with children. A shoe salesman who despises his family, insults his customers, and prefers sitting on the couch with his hand in his pants rather than doing anything productive. Sounds like a nightmare? Welcome to the life of Al Bundy. In Germany, Married with Children became a cult classic, but Al himself, he divided the nation. Some loved his cynical humor, his eternal bad luck, and the legendary No Ma'am Club. Others found him simply disgusting, sexist, lazy, bitter, the opposite of the American dream man. But that's exactly what made him unforgettable. He was the anti-hero of the 90s, the guy who never bent, could never change who he was, and still kept failing at life. A symbol of, yeah, my life sucks, but at least I can laugh about it. Most loved, Sabrina Spellman, Sabrina the Teenage Witch. She was the witch we all wanted to be, or at least we wanted her cat. Sabrina Spellman, played by Melissa Joan Hart, was the perfect mix of ordinary teenager and magical chaos. With a snap of her fingers, she made teachers disappear, enchanted boys, or drove her talking cat Salem crazy. But the special thing was, despite all her powers, she remained human, insecure, curious, charming, and somehow like a friend you'd love to wander through the 90s with. Sabrina was the 90s girl who could do anything, and was still just as confused as we were. And let's be honest, who wouldn't have loved to magic away their homework or turn the math teacher into a goldfish for an hour? Most hated, Kelly Taylor, Beverly Hills, 90210. Drama, and, oh, surprise, even more drama. Kelly Taylor was the walking chaos of Beverly Hills, 90210. She was beautiful, popular, and emotionally unstable at a soap opera Olympics level. Dylan, Brandon, back to Brandon again, with about 17 rounds of self-discovery in between. In Germany, Beverly Hills, 90210 was a TV phenomenon. Everyone knew the gang. But Kelly, she divided the audience. Many viewers couldn't take her seriously anymore. Too much ego, too much whining, too much, why doesn't anyone love me the way I want? But let's be honest, without Kelly, the show would have been only half as exciting. She was the drama queen we hated and loved exactly for that. Most loved, Will Smith, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Yo, home to Bel-Air. The intro alone could put you in a good mood. Will Smith made an entire generation laugh with his charm, coolness, and humor. He was the rebellious cousin from Philadelphia, who shook up the stiff luxury life of the Banks family, but always with heart. In Germany, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air became a long-running favorite. What made Will so special? Behind the comedy was real emotion. The scene where he talks about his father, TV history. He was funny, loud, cheeky, but never mean. A character who showed us that humor can have warmth, and that family is more than blood relations. Most hated, Harriet Oleson, Little House on the Prairie. Yes, technically, Little House on the Prairie dates back to the 70s, but in the 90s, it aired so often in Germany that it practically counts as part of the decade. And who could forget her? Harriet Oleson, the self-proclaimed queen of Walnut Grove. Vain, gossip-loving, arrogant, and always ready to make life hard for others. She was the kind of person who'd bring you a cake and then tell you how bad it tastes. And that's exactly what made her so brilliant. She was the mother of all TV divas, before Desperate Housewives or reality stars ever existed. Every show needs a character you can hate. Harriet was the original, and no one did it better. Most loved, Fran Fine, the Nanny. Nasal accent? Check. Leopard print clothes? Double check. A laugh that could break walls? Triple check. Fran Fine was everything except subtle. With her loud voice, huge heart, and legendary one-liners, she was the highlight of 90s sitcoms. She was the opposite of reserved, and that's what made her so lovable. She brought sparkle, glamour, and Queen's attitude into the stiff world of Mr. Sheffield. Fran proved you can be loud, colorful, and cheeky, and still win everyone's heart. She was the woman you couldn't overlook and wouldn't want to. Most hated Kimmy Gibbler, Full House. The neighbor who was never invited but was always there anyway. Kimmy Gibbler was the definition of an uninvited guest. With her colorful outfits, silly remarks, and boundless self-confidence, she regularly drove the Tanners up the wall. And let's be honest, us too. But that's exactly why she became a cult figure. Every family in the 90s had a Kimmy in their circle, the one who just didn't know when to stop. She was annoying, but real. And somewhere along the way, we couldn't help but grow fond of her. Because while everyone else tried to be perfect, Kimmy was simply herself, and that was perhaps the most genuine thing about the whole show. Most loved, Steve Urkel, Family Matters. Did I do that? That line alone is enough to put a smile on the faces of millions of 90s kids. Steve Urkel, the nerd with the high-pitched voice, suspenders, and endless clumsiness, was originally meant to be a side character, but he stole the show from everyone else. He was the embodiment of the lovable loser. Annoying, yes, but with heart. And as Stefan Urkel, he suddenly became the cool, charming guy. An unforgettable gag that showed how self-aware the series was. In Germany, Urkel became a phenomenon. Annoying? Definitely. Unforgettable? Absolutely. He was the nerd who proved you don't have to be cool to be loved, you just have to be real. Most hated Kimberly Shaw, Melrose Place. She was beautiful. She was smart, and she was, without exaggeration, the craziest TV character of the 90s. Kimberly Shaw from Melrose Place started out as a loving doctor and ended up as a ticking time bomb with explosives in her apartment complex. No joke, she literally blew up half the set. In Germany, Melrose Place was must-watch TV for soap fans, and Kimberly quickly became the #1 hate figure. But she was also fascinating. No one combined madness, elegance, and drama as perfectly as she did. You couldn't stand her, and yet you couldn't stop watching her. Kimberly proved that even the most evil characters can become icons. Most loved, Rachel Green, Friends, and now the queen of the 90s. Rachel Green. From spoiled rich girl to successful fashion woman, she was the TV heroine millions grew up with. Her hairstyle was copied around the world, and her love story with Ross became TV history. And her character showed that you can reinvent yourself, even when you have no idea what you're doing at first. Anyone who didn't like Rachel never really watched 90s TV. She was stylish, charming, chaotic, and simply human. A character you loved because she made mistakes, and because she, just like us, improvised her way through life. She showed that success doesn't mean being perfect, it means keeping going even when everything goes wrong. Whether witch or pain in the neck, fashion icon or family grouch, the 90s had characters you loved, hated, or both at the same time. And maybe that was their magic. They were not perfect, but they were unforgettable. Because behind every wild hairstyle, every bad joke, and every over-the-top scene, there was something real, a touch of humanity that still pulls us in front of the screen decades later. So, rewind pressed, VHS inserted, and back to the 90s, where sitcoms had heart, heroes made mistakes, and each of us was a little bit Sabrina, Will, Rachel, or yes, even Al Bundy.